Hi, welcome back to the Dylan Rounds case. Welcome if you're currently here in the live premiere. Once again, we are back with more comments which have been shared by Corey, supposed individual that knows quite a bit about the Dylan Rounds case as for the backstory of Dylan Rounds and things that happened. Arguably, today we're looking at more information which has hardly been ever talked about before, maybe on the YouTube platform or in general. So we'll be reading through the comments of Corey, her latest responses, see what it's all about, see some of the questions which I asked if they've been answered, and go from there, okay? So it could be a bit of a heavy video, it could be kind of deep, but not as deep as last night's, because last night's was significantly longer in length. We have been back to back recently in important key news and coverage of the case. If for whatever reason or point you have missed out on the previous videos, I strongly advise you to catch up on those past videos. I will be providing a link down below in the comment section, pinned at the very top. Be sure to check those videos out after watching this video, okay? Welcome to everyone watching right now. Shout out to Cleo last night for her presence, super chats, and as well, I believe King Samoan as well. Good of him with the gifted membership. And shout out to the other person if they, supported the channel in some way or another. Sometimes it is hard to keep up with everyone, but shout out to those people, good individuals, appreciate that. As well, once again, shout out to Corey for just reaching out and just answering and also being patient when it comes to, sharing this information, right? I know some people will be still cautious and wary, and that's perfectly normal. What I do want to state right here, right now, before anyone gets their pants in a twist or goes off the deep end, I want to say that in my thoughts, my opinion, that I still feel Brenner is the main guilty one, and that there was the other person on the side that may have played a role in some way or another, okay? I'm still focused on that aspect. When it comes to Chase Venstra, because of the timestamps, they don't quite match up in the sense that you can't have a person in two places at once or so, and because of the distance and the time it takes to get from here to there, it just doesn't seem quite possible. As said, for greater backstory and understanding on all of that, make sure to check the previous videos out in the pinned comment section, okay? And as we do go throughout this video, feel free to share your thoughts, opinions, reactions in the live chat, as well talk about the odd other thing in between, okay? Shout out to the people that have been able to maintain focus in recent time. It's good of them. Most people have been able to, and it's tied in line with the important stuff we've been looking at, okay? We had the likes of Ty Corbyn popping up last night, a bit of whinging and whining, saying that was BS, without truly elaborating, so it's not exactly helpful from him. And there'll still be some people that, well, quite a few people that will still support him, etc., but let's not go back to history repeating itself in bending over backwards, getting on your knees and saying, Master, bless me with hope. Let's not go there, okay? Let's be realistic. We can acknowledge this, but we can also criticize that, or at least highlight and make an observation about it. More about that later. Now, before we even kick things off, as a heads up, the style and format of today, first of all, we're going to look at Bob Farrell's community post in recent time in response to one of my recent videos I've covered on the Dylan Rounds case. I want to see what Bob's thoughts are, where things lie. Has his opinion changed? Bob Farrell, if you're watching right here, right now, Bob Farrell, wherever you may be, you can leave a comment down below in the comment section later on in this video or once the live premiere has ended. And just let me know, have any of your thoughts changed ever since, or are you still fixed on certain areas? Just let me know in a natural way, okay? But that's what we're going to look at first today. We're going to be checking his latest response about it, what he's had to say. A few viewers have said Bob Farrell has been speaking negatively about me, or certain individuals have within his videos. It is what it is. Humans showing some form of spasmodic obsession with me. It tends to happen at times. as well. You still got the likes of Kathy, Ginger Ninja, and Axel, Delusional Cat, whinging and whining. Kathy claiming her cat is a human. What's going on there? But at the same time treating it as a joke. But if anyone else joins in on the joke, she gets triggered and offended. Definitely got a bit of a dodgy personality there. Something's definitely gone wrong. She's still been present in the chats and still been spreading serious false allegations and misinformation about me. Bob Farrell, there's not much you can do about it, I guess. And I guess if you took action, it would cause more problems. But I'm just simply highlighting there is an ongoing issue and I'm somewhat disappointed by it. But at the same time, it is what it is, okay? So Bob Farrell, that's what we're going to be looking at first of all in this video. And then we're moving on to the latest comments by Corey and see what other information and potential supposed information she has to share with us, okay? As I said, I'll give you my thoughts, my analysis. I still want to maintain balance. It's not a matter of bending over backwards for someone and then saying yes to everything they say. I still have my own thoughts, opinions, all locked up in here or loaded up in there as I've demonstrated time after time. And it'll probably be incorporated today, okay? So a fair bit to get through, but maybe not as long as yesterday's video. Links down below if you wish to check them out. It is advised, so you fully understand everything that's being talked about, okay? But before we go any further, I am enraged right now, okay? And it's got absolutely nothing to do with the case. It's got absolutely nothing to do with the community. It's got absolutely nothing to do with some of the key characters and Pratts. It's all away from that. My disappointment is beyond immeasurable at this moment in time. The way YouTube are treating me, excuse me, YouTube, stop being a little peasant, little petty ass, and get yourself a grip, because that whip is going to be coming out, okay? Whip on the lip, yeah, not going to be too good. But now on a serious matter, earlier today, and it might have impacted my second video as well, I wanted to cover some Watcher of Realms gameplay. That's going down very well. You look at the like to dislike ratio. One of the last ones I uploaded was it received 10 likes and 10 dislikes. There seems to be a witch hunt when it comes to me uploading gameplay videos in recent time. I don't know if that's because of regular viewers or some people in the background that watch my channel specifically because of true crime or mystery cases, and they get into a bit of a twist when I branch away from it. But just take one thing in mind, whether it's any spasmodic people out there or outsiders, whoever it is, not only have I been uploading gameplay videos, but I've also been uploading the same standard format of true crime coverage and cases as I have been for the last year or so. 350 videos made on the Dylan Rounds case and still counting, whilst also uploading gameplay clips of other stuff because I'm a content creator for them. Okay, it's all under control. Just because I'm uploading a video on different material, it doesn't prevent or stop the coverage on the Dylan Brown's case. Take that in mind, so you don't need to get your pants in a twist. Or is it just simply male degenerates, random humans out there that have no part in this community and they're just strangers coming on in whining? Maybe. But I do sense that people don't like my gameplay videos because they're all in on true crime and mystery. But let's be real, I think one is allowed to branch out from time to time when one has spent over 3 years covering cases non-stop with a straight fucking face, okay? Let's get that clear. Did I swear? Yes, but because of my spasmodic mouth at times, you might be able to, turn it into audible language. But at this point in time, the way YouTube is with you can't swear, but you can swear, but you can't. You can't swear in the first 7 seconds of a video. This ain't 7 seconds. This is nearly 10 minutes long, right? So, yeah. My earlier videos, gameplay, were limited, restricted because they didn't follow guidelines. And what did the videos entail? Me sat here, or stood depending, reading out an in-game message of a character, their abilities, what they can do in-game. A video game, a mobile game, little bits of information regarding the latest news and things coming on in as well, allowing people to know that there's compensation because of the way the game company or the game developers treated people in game. Wow, that's such a naughty thing to do. Come on, YouTube, get yourself together, get a grip. You're becoming as pathetic as some of the humans out there. Well, maybe no, you might have already, past that point, YouTube. pathetic. You know, when I close my eyes because I can't even bear to look at you, YouTube. You disgust me. You know, absolutely terrible. You're worse than the plague with the rats in London. And we know the rat infestation is bad enough, but, you know, YouTube, my goodness. And once again, this is not to do with being cancelled, nor is it to do with political correctness. It's something technologically corrupt, completely different in its own right, okay? I've not seen anyone else go through this, just me. And when I did ask one guy, Frank, 400,000 subscribers, he's not really been through this. And he's a massive established channel. And if he hasn't been through it, then what hope is there for me, right? And yet I've gone through it. You know, less people that experience it, the less answers, the less action taken. Annoying. Anyway, the good thing is with me being enraged right now, it means I'm more locked on than ever, and it means the flow of what I say is there. That's why I said in the past, when I'm a bit more relaxed and casual, that's actually worse for me because I haven't got that energy, I haven't got that kick. But I do this time, and we'll see. You know, people in the chat, you can monitor, make your own observations to whether it works or not. Not that I'm gonna naturally, well, not that I'm gonna force myself to be pissed off all the time, because it just wouldn't be worthwhile. But there's a lot of factors going on, then naturally, without choice, I will be this way. So, apologies about the clicking, that's just a silly water bottle in the background in case you're wondering. Welcome to everyone still watching and those who've suddenly joined. You haven't really missed too much right now, though what you have missed is the announcement of the structure of this video and the format. And if you want to know more about that, so then you know what to expect in this video, rewind back right now, okay? But without further ado, for everyone else still watching, let's move onwards. First of all, to Bob Farrell's recent community post on his channel. Let's see what it's all about, okay? Here we are. This is Bob's post 1 day ago. It says edited, so we see the updated version. Bob says, I just watched Warlike Raf's video and listening to what he was saying. I'm not sure when that person Corey wrote that stuff he was talking about. Well, for context, Bob, Corey just showed up most recently on my channel. I've never heard of Corey before. I never knew who they were or where they came from originally. They've just literally popped up out of nowhere in recent time, Bob Farrell. Do you understand that? Supposedly Corey came from Pancake's channel or something. Maybe it coincides with Pancake's downfall in recent time, maybe. As you know, you may have experienced Bob Farrell with time when there's drama or when there's confusion or misunderstandings, conflict, tension, whatever it may be, people do branch away and distance themselves and move on elsewhere. Hence why you see new waves of people and new characters. Can you agree with that, Bob? Okay. But yeah, Bob says, but I have heard that information before, right out of Kurt's mouth, on one of Salty Pancake's video. So you're saying, Bob, that everything Corey has said in recent time, every single bit of information, every single word for word recall was said in one of Pancake's singular videos. Do I find that believable? Not really. I feel that parts would have been mentioned for sure, but not everything. No. And you're saying in one of Pancake's videos, so when are we talking? Recently or in the past? Are we talking on Rumble or on YouTube? Because the reality is, if we're talking about YouTube, whether certain parts were mentioned or not, whether it be Pancakes or whether it be Jim, Terry, Mr. X, at the end of the day, reality is, are there channels on YouTube anymore, Bob Farrell? Bob Farrell, feel free to answer my questions down below and try not divert off too much. The question is, Bob, is Jim, Terry, Mr. X on YouTube anymore? Do they have a channel? Does Salty Pancakes have a channel on YouTube? And then the second part to that question as an add-on, these supposed videos which talked about this supposed information by Pancakes, the Kurt Wadsworth video, or even Jim Terry. Do those videos exist anymore on YouTube? Yes or no? And I think we know which way that's going to go. So by another individual out there, such as myself, able to conduct myself more appropriately, and the specific usage of language and wording which still other humans out there fail to comprehend, at least one is still left standing to be able to provide, whether it to be re-energize people, bring back to light certain key information, or in certain areas highlight never seen before info and events, right? If certain stuff covered in the past is no longer present, how are people going to know about it? When new people come on in, they're never going to see it or hear about it. And when they finally do, they'll think that's the first time they've ever heard about it, right? So there is some truths in that, okay? Whether it be classified as archiving stuff or reinventing and providing a different spin on things with new thoughts and perspectives. Do you agree with that, Bob Farrell? Because whilst channels have gone with time and been terminated, so has their content, which in certain aspects with certain humans out there has been considered valuable and important. When that is lost because their channels are taken down, you know, that's like going backwards, not going forwards in progress, but backwards. So to be able to present this information here, whether it be by Corey or somebody else down the line, that's helpful. But I still feel though, that there are aspects and pieces of information which hasn't been talked about properly beforehand. There'll be some humans out there that will whinge and whine, of course, because for some reason triggered by the fact that there is another human able to cover this stuff when they feel entitled to be the only one to cover it in the first place. As said, Bob Farrell, I don't know if you're aware of it or not, reality is, especially when it comes to the true crime community, there is a level of human competitiveness. Okay, and I think Jim Toe said he's a competitive person in the past, and what do you expect? Indoor arena football and background there, trying to be successful, this and that, doing this and that, etc., and anyone else in between going to be competitive. When you got evolutionary competitiveness, especially within a case, being the one to be able to have all the information and present it to everyone and everyone in front and only them. When somebody else steps on in, they don't like that. So it can lead to resistance, name-calling, trying to damage one's credibility, and all kinds of disruption as we've seen in the past, okay? It's about understanding the balance that it's important to cover the case regardless of who it's coming from, provided it's covered appropriately, okay? But obviously some humans out there don't seem to understand that, which is unfortunate, but that's just the way things are. So let me know, Bob, your thoughts down below. What else do we need to mention here by Bob? Bob says, Kurt said he knew for a fact that someone else drove the grain truck to the grain shed, that Dylan didn't drive it. And he knew that because he knows everything about what happened to Dylan. He knows who killed Dylan and why they killed him. So Bob Farrell, you're telling me that Kurt believes that Dylan didn't drive the grain truck on the day. So explain to me, how did Dylan Rounds make the call to the grandmother, Karen Rounds, near to the gate of the grain shed property because of the phone pinging in the area at the time of when the call was made? How did Dylan get down there if he didn't drive the grain truck to the spot? Did he just walk down there and then whatever happened? Let me know your thoughts, right? What else? So saying that Kurt knows who killed Dylan and why they killed him, but Kurt's keeping quiet, supposedly speaking. Bob says, yet he plays stupid. Kurt Wadsworth playing stupid every day and night. So does his daughter Taylina. They all know what the hell happened to him. I just hope when the day comes, they charge all of them in Montello and Idaho, withholding information. Jim Brenner, Don Hatley and his son Robert all took part of it, and I'm sure Chase and Robert are somehow involved. Right, so you're saying that you're sure, you feel, a feeling, a thought, an idea, some kind of opinion, but not 100% a fact, okay? It's about Chase and Robert somehow involved. Bob Farrell, you were the one, weren't you, to talk about Chase and Robert kidnapping Dylan Rounds, putting him in a horsebox trailer, tying him up, and then Dylan accidentally choking himself out with the neck and the rope. You talked about that, Bob Farrell. Do you still stick with that thought, or is it now considered BS? Anyway, getting Chase out of town, etc. And the rest of the residents in Montello that know the story, Shame on all of you folks. You are also involved, even if you didn't play a part in the murder. How the hell do you all live with yourselves, know this information? Grow some balls, and all of you. I guess Dylan's life doesn't mean anything to any of you. You all cry fake tears. Karma does work. Someday you will pay for not speaking up and telling the truth. Someday we'll get yours. I think by now, if Salty Pancakes knew anything about it, he would have spoke out to save his ass right now from jail time. Wait, hold on, Bob Farrell. The reason why Salty Pancakes is in trouble is because of a Class B misdemeanor to do with online digital harassment, which could happen anytime, any place if he's got experience in the past. With his attitude and behaviour, not just exclusive to the Dylan Rounds case or people involved there, but simply people in the community that have been trying to make sense of the case, and Pancakes has been interjecting himself in a spasmodic way at times and not thinking before speaking or coming out with his wild claims and false labelling and slander that comes with it, okay? So there is a difference there, a separation between the two, okay? Anyway, Bob says, if Kurt Wadsworth got Dylan into drugs, I hope he suffers the worst type of death there is out there. Now he is hiding in California. BS. There are many places in Montello you can hide, people. Just ask the guy who hid the 3 women for a year how and where to go to hide. Kurt's sister Taylina is another one. She is the one who said she wants Dylan dead, or she is going to see that he is dead. I don't remember her words, but if she is involved, I hope she gets hers also. I still can't understand, maybe I just am out of the loop of things, but what in the hell is taking them so long to go forward on this case? There are 50 people that live there, come on, It's not New York City, for God's sakes. I can't believe law enforcement out there is more afraid of 50 people than they are a big city. I know Dylan wasn't from Montello, but what the hell, folks? He was a kid, a young man just starting out, maybe a wise guy, but big deal. All kids are wise asses when they're of his age. Well, the thing is, Bob, it doesn't just apply exclusively to the LE being scared or not, or incompetent to do with arresting supposed suspects still out there, such as Montello. It's the fact that LE have been incompetent since day one. And although Ty Corbin praises the LE, and so do other people, for the LE, from at least what we know of, unless that changes down the line, let's at least be fair there, that the LE didn't take direct action from the beginning when it came to certain key opportunities, that they didn't tape the Grainshed property off as a true crime scene. If they did tape it off, then it wouldn't have led to the spring cleaning, and then that evidence within, or potential evidence within, would have remained there. But obviously it doesn't anymore. The police didn't even bother following that up, so that was a wasted opportunity there. The fact that Ellie allowed family to take a vehicle away, that being Dylan's pickup truck, and then that led to mileage being lost, the last 100 miles, which could have been used in the disposal of Dylan, but that can't be seen anymore. The fact that bloodhound dogs weren't used immediately because of the rain, and thought, well, we can't use that then, so that was wasted opportunity when it was a fresh time to make use of those resources. On top of the fact that they said they didn't have the drone pilots, but they did have the drones present, well, that's a waste of time, because drones would have been most helpful at the time back then. Sure, you had exports, you had people like Mob Crew Chris going out there with the drone, but to have the really true expertise as well, no criticise there, but as well the true technology, because they'll have higher end drones, right? You'd expect that, and more in numbers. It would have been useful way back at the start when it was all fresh. Okay, there've been a lot of delays, not taking it maybe completely seriously until it's too late. That supposedly forensics were never done inside of the Grainshed property, nor the other place, which was a final hit where the dogs reacted as if there was DNA there, or once was, to do with Dylan as a potential temporary burial site, hence the desecration falling under the umbrella term. But that never was followed up, another wasted opportunity. So it's not just the police arresting people now and it being delayed, but it's way back at the start, the way the case has gone, okay? Hopefully that makes sense, Bob. Anything else? Oh, here we go again. So, Bob says, and to Justin Rounds and Candice Cooley, I am not a jerk. Even though many people think so, I'm a human, just like both of you. I may say things, but I speak my mind. I've always been like that. It might hurt when I say it, but face the facts, Mr. and Mrs. Rounds and Cooley, it's life. JD parents and the coach that told us what they did about Dylan and his childhood, they aren't jerks either. They cared big time for your son, and I believe all of the stories they have told. The truth hurts. Yeah, it does. I do speak nasty about some woman, but most of the time I am a nice guy. I couldn't have lasted for 27 years at my hometown job if I was not a good person. Believe me, fired more people for things. People on the internet can say what they want about me. I've been there, done that. I am going to be 69 in a few days. I can take whatever people say about me. I'm still here in my hometown. If I was the things that these morons say about me here on YouTube streets, then I would have never lasted here. Mr. Michael Riley, also known as Sleeper Cell. What's going on here? Find out for himself the other day. He called my old job. They told him to get lost. He had no case to tell at your own department. I didn't get fired from my job. I retired. I didn't get booted out of the town. Still here. I might be going soon, though. Going to my favourite place to live and die. Like I said 100 times, none of you pick my friends. None of you. Right. Then at the end, don't forget, August 1st, Dylan's birthday, which is of today. It just depends what time zone difference you're in, right? Dodgy time zones. Haven't really got many comments here. Stoney, remember you weren't a police officer. You can take back all of this rambling you are doing. I don't think anything you are saying is fact. And for your information, there are lots that care about Dylan. You should stop speaking for others, Bob. I mean, are there lots of people that care about Dylan? There might be quite a few people that care about Dylan but lack the stamina to even comprehend the case or to keep on going covering it, hence why we're seeing a drop-off in views across all boards and channels. It's a stamina war. Not everybody has stamina. Not everyone has time or focus. Many factors to take in mind. But I do feel there will be a high degree of people at certain times where they don't care about the case, they only care about other things being covered. So if you do have a video which incorporates the case and other stuff, you might get more people watching, but not all for the same reason, right? It's kind of like if you did Dylan Rounds, but then you also put in the title something to do with Jim Tate and it was in a dramatic way, obviously you're going to get waves of people you may have never seen before. Are they here to learn about the case? No, but they may be present to defend their master. You know, along that lines, you know, it's just one of those loyalty aspects. These hardliners coming on in, defending one person's name and honour, etc. It's bound to happen, okay? But yeah, looks like we've reached the end here. I'll just give you my additional thoughts, Bob, right now. So, Bob, your post, it's the most I've ever seen you type ever. Is that because you were influenced by the video I covered recently? Bet some of the names talked about in events reminded you of what you've heard in the past. But let me know, Bob, on a serious level, besides masters, puppeteers, think for yourself, Bob, when I ask this question. You don't even have to answer it. You can make a mental reply, a mental note in here, Bob, okay? As for recent time with what I've covered on this channel in a balanced way, maintaining my own thoughts and opinions as well, has there been any scraps of information, names or background of Dylan which has interested you in some way or another? You know, just think about that in your mind. Any backstory of Dylan or additional characters out there during the disappearance, the murder of Dylan, or just before that? Any bits of information which made you think or look back and think, oh, wow, that is interesting. Any factors, any moments which may alter or change your perspective on the case, okay? I'm sure you're probably strongly opinionated on certain aspects, but I just want to know in general, okay? Anything else to add on in? I said the spelling was a bit dodgy by you, but I was still able to understand most part of what you were saying. Did I take it all in on the spot? Not quite, because I am dialed in for what I'm going to be covering later or very soon. Okay, I can look back at your points, Bob. But, you know, I've seen you mention about Chase Venster in the past and Robert Aviles. I'm just thinking, Bob, right? In general. So you, Bob, are in alignment with Jim Terry, Mr. X. Ty Corbin tags along at the same time. That Ty Corbin strongly feels that Robert Aviles has no part in the Dylan Rounds case and probably Chase Venstra to an extent. That being the case, then with you, Bob, thinking that Chase Venstra and Robert Aviles as well plays a role, what does Ty Corbin think about that if Ty Corbin is aware? Differing opinions, that's normal, right? That's right, Bob, isn't it? To have differing opinions, but to being aligned with people where you, well, a general everyday person, if they were to have a different opinion, would get called out for that. Have you ever been in that situation, Bob? Has that happened yet where you're present at? Feel free to make mental notes within here, okay? I'm just interested. Because what we're seeing with time is when humans have thought outside of the box or gone against the majority in numbers, it's led to them being singled out. Especially if you've got all different kinds of characters with their own personalities and beliefs. So, has it happened for you yet? I know your thoughts, right? In general, Bob, what's your thoughts on Corey? You know, without bashing her, just in a basic way, let me know what you think about Corey, okay? Okay, so with that aside, it's now time to move on with the main part of this video, okay? The reason why I didn't do like the response to Bob Farrell with respect to Bob recently with the previous last two videos is because they were important and heavily focused on the Dylan Rounds case, okay? I didn't want them to be tarnished. I didn't want like to become intoxicated or any of that, right? I just wanted to keep it clean and focused. As right now, I was able to incorporate it in a way and somewhat controlled. And hopefully it's somewhat controlled in the chat as well. But yeah, what we're going to move on to now, main part of this video, arguably speaking, we're looking at additional comments by Corey because there is more comments by her and backstory information. No harm in taking a look at it, give you my thoughts, opinions, and of course anyone watching right here, right now, be sure to share your own thoughts and opinions too. There's no harm in doing that, right? So, where do we go? Well, we look back at the comment section of the previous video, as that's where the comments are. We'll also respond back to and acknowledge other people's comments as well to keep up with that flow. What I will say is, first and foremost, very quickly, is it's perfect at the style of looking at these comments, the comment sections of the next video followed by the next video, ties in line with a format which happened before Corey appeared. So when Corey has appeared now, it makes it even more right. It makes it even more of a reason to look back at the comments, to catch up on them and to present them in the next video like this one so people don't miss them. Because not everyone looks back at the comments. So by making these videos, looking back at them, people will know about it. And just as in advance, if you're satisfied up to now with this video, if you're satisfied, feel free to hit the like button down below and share the video. As for other people not quite satisfied or still on the fence, let me know your thoughts at the end, okay? And then we'll go from there. So let's return back to the comment section and see what Corey has had to say most recently. So I'm just going to adjust the comments to newest. Don't know how many we've got to get through. Maybe not as much as last night's. That's a positive. My battery life is kind of questionable. It's at about 38%. So hopefully we can last. So to kick things off, Tom Evans, his comment saying, I have something to tell Bob Farrell. Bob Farrell, open your eyes and close your ears. You need to see what they are making you believe and what is the truth. It's fun for you to play with those guys, but they are not the best of human beings. So basically, in this situation, what Tom Evans is talking about in response to Bob Farrell is the likes of Jim Terry, Mr. X, and maybe Ty Corbin as well. But we'll just see what the responses are. Bob Farrell does appreciate Tom's concern or observations. Bob, in a sense, acknowledges that those humans out there that Bob surrounds himself with aren't the best of people. Bob's saying thank you for your input. So he's acknowledging it, which is interesting. What does Corey say? Oh, here we go. Corey responds to Bob Farrell. Bob, you know who I am, and you know I have never taken sides or caused trouble. My only focus was finding the timeline and who and how and when. I have wanted to talk to you in private because after I received that fake IP message from you, I was shocked and could not believe you would say something like that to me on Dylan's death date, May 28th, 2 months ago. It devastated me. I'm very sure of what has happened and who were all involved, and some people were told to stop inserting themselves in Dylan's case, that they have been fired from cases because of their motives. You say yours are good intention. Okay. Right. So Corey there was talking about Jim Terry when it comes to some people told that by inserting themselves in a case they need to step back and that they've been fired from cases. So Jim Terry, that's what Corey is referring to there. An IP message from you, a fake IP message from a supposed Bob Farrell. Right. So IP, location, being revealed, is that it? A fake one, trying to expose someone when it turns out to be incorrect. What does Bob say? I understand what you mean. Thanks for your input. Now, is Bob responding to Corey there or Tom Evans once again, because he didn't reply specifically to the individual? I don't know. A sense, is Bob Farrell more of an automated system? Thank you for your input. I will take that into consideration next time. What next? Are we going to call Bob and he activates like Alexa? Bob, turn on the lights. Bob, put some clean socks on. Bob, what is the date today? Bob, can you set a reminder? Oh, wow, yeah. Anyway, Tom responds, this is the first that I have heard about a fake IP message. Can you tell us more? Bob Farrell responds, this has been a problem for me for many months now. Someone hacked into my Facebook accounts and they sent out nasty messages to people involved in Dylan's case, such as his friends, family, etc. Salty Pancakes admitted it a week ago or so on his Rumble channel, being responsible. Kaylee called me and spoke to me about it. Robbie also created fake account with my name, etc., where I worked, etc., etc. Right. So, do I believe in this? I don't know, right? I can't give my opinion because I've not looked into it because I've been focused on Dylan Rounds. But all I would say, whoever is responsible out there for supposedly creating a fake Bob Farrell account or hacking into his account or whatever, I guess it could explain to why the likes of Justin Rounds or Candice Cooley don't have a positive outlook on Bob through misunderstandings, supposed fake accounts or fake persona behind it on behalf of somebody else, doing certain stuff to hurt the family, and then that family think that it's coming directly from that individual, Bob, and then that leads to that disapproval and being advised to step back from the case or something. I guess it makes more sense there. I mean, if that really is the case, if Bob has really gone through that and experienced it, and there are supposed people out there that have experienced it or responsible for doing it in the first place, whoever that may be, I can kind of understand it just simply because I have had fake impersonation accounts of me set up, like the one in most recent of time, as you all know. And that fake impersonation account being Salty Pancakes. And for Bob Farrell here to say that Salty Pancakes admitted it as being responsible for the Bob Farrell issue and problems he's been going through, it works across all boards, so I can understand it further. Is that Warlike Wrath impersonation account still up? I can't remember now because I've not looked back at it. Okay, but it's happened. And there's still the odd other account out there which has used images of me without my consent, etc., of my face. You'll be aware of that. The Agent Jessica account agent Jessica Monday or whatever that person is, right? Etc. etc. A bit of stuff going on, right? But the reason why I can understand it to an extent is just simply because when there were fake accounts set up of me in the past, they went elsewhere, went into different channels, said negative stuff, and then people came to my channel thinking it came from me when it didn't. For most part of it, people were understanding, which was good, but you can see the damage it can cause. And if Bob has gone through that on a more serious extent level, you can see how it backfires. The reality is, at the end of the day, you can acknowledge, maybe not literally respect, but you can at least acknowledge that there are dangerous people out there or capable of many things, and they can cause damage. And to be on the receiving end of it, it's not good. But you should be able to, and hopefully be able to, avoid most of it if you just simply stick with the case and only the case. Unless there's some branches that do tie on in some way or another. Okay. And that's it for Bob's comment. That's one way to kick things off. What else do we have? We got Terry saying, what time did Robert Aviles fill? And if where he filled up had CCTV. Okay, does Corey respond here? Right, Tom says, Robert Aviles filled up on the 27th of May and the 30th in Montello. This is what I have been told. No cameras. Yeah. So I can agree with the cameras because in Montello, there really isn't any or many. Let's just say some people have said that there's the odd camera near to some like rubbish tip, and that's about it. It was installed not that long ago, but besides that, there isn't any true surveillance. So it's lacking, right? And if you think about the crime levels and the wildness that's gone on in Montello, I'm surprised they've never introduced cameras, unless it's because some of them feel that they've done bad stuff as well. It's kind of give and take. They do bad, you do bad. And if you keep cameras up there, you'll incriminate yourself. So maybe that's why they don't do it. In more developed areas, cities, towns, more established, there is surveillance there, such as Snowville, such as Ogden, Clinton, hence the CCTV, right? But yeah, what Tom says here, yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Terry. What else? Badger Life. Does this help find Dylan's body? I think looking into Brenner's past could give a better understanding of what really happened. However, finding a body is unlikely. Back to blocking people. Okay, Badger. Block people, but don't block the holes, so you still have entrances and exit routes on the island, Degen Island. As I said, I feel that what we've looked at recently may not directly lead to finding Dylan, but it provides a better insight into the case and new possibilities and new ideas, new discussions, which generates new videos and then helps keep the case alive in general. So there's a lot of positives, providing it's coordinated and operated appropriately, and the correct language is used for most part of it, or at least there is an attempt and effort made to do so in a natural way, right? That's what I think, at least. We have looked at Brenner before. We've looked at his past. We've looked at his past court records and stuff. Looked at his possible motives and reasons there. I've even done extensive storytelling with the maps of possible locations or routes, exit points, and how he could have gone about when disposing of Dylan. We've gone very deep there. I can only do so much at a point in time. If new evidence comes out or new material, then maybe I can revisit it. But at this moment in time, there's not much more I can do in that area. So that's why we're looking here, and then we're looking back, the backstory of Dylan. So you kind of just move about from one place to another at times. Corey says, whatever Brenner did in the past is why he is in prison and the charges he had from that. Dylan's timeline will be totally separated from Brenner's past. Now, the reason why I looked at Brenner's past to see, does it mirror what happened to Dylan Rounds, right? Even when there wasn't like that 7:27 timestamp, Dylan's phone footage of Brenner, Dylan's blood on him and cleaning that gun, even before that existed, I was just simply looking at Brenner thinking, right, has he constantly reoffended? Yeah. Is he considered a danger to the general public? Yes. Can he snap? Well, possibilities, right? Has Brenner ever threatened to kill anybody else at a point in time from, well, at least what I've heard of, absolutely, okay? I don't know if you're aware of this, Corey, but from what Justin Rounds has said, an individual, you said you passed on all this information to him and not Candice Cooley, just Justin. Just let me know your thoughts about this, what I'm about to say. Justin Rounds, in a previous interview, which was either the East Idaho News one or Heavy D's interview inside of the grain shed, what Justin Rounds mentioned was back in the past, in 2021, when Brenner was with Don Hatley and Dylan Rounds at the shop, which I believe was Justin's, as Justin was like in the back near to the camera's surveillance and the mic, he overheard a conversation between Don Hatley and Brenner was demonstrating such jealousy towards Dylan Rounds, calling him out, speaking bad about him, showing that level of jealousy, right? A level of hatred. And sometimes hatred can lead to extreme measures, right? So Justin recalled that and said it wasn't looking too good even back then, the way Brenner had his outlook on Dylan. Now, it's not just that, because Justin also mentioned that about 3 or 4 years ago or so, speaking, it could be a bit longer, I can't remember the exact date or year, but Justin did say that in the past, when Dylan Rounds got a hold of pigs, that Brenner was involved too with the pigs. And in terms of where they were going to be put, they were put opposite either Justin's grandparents' house, which wasn't really in use. But Justin didn't approve of it at the time, pigs being placed there opposite the grandparents' house. Justin wasn't too pleased. He shared his thoughts at the time, what he felt about it, had his words out with James Brenner too. And then when Justin left the area and walked away, wherever he went, Dylan Rounds was the individual that was still around Brenner at that time, and Brenner wasn't happy the way he was spoken to by Justin. And Brenner said that he's going to kill Justin Rounds back then, just because of the way he felt he was spoken to. He didn't like it. So he threw his toys out the pram and said, right, I'm going to kill Justin Rounds. A threat, a serious threat. Dylan Rounds obviously heard it because he was next to Brenner at the time. And then Dylan either made a call or sent a text message to Justin telling him. And then later, I think they got back together and spoke it out. But as for early warning signs, to be threatened by someone who is considered as a friend of a family to some, but to Candice Cooley more of just a simple acquaintance at some point, for someone back then to be around your son and to threaten the father, that just doesn't sound too good. It's not good being around someone that threatens you physically, verbally. It's just not healthy. It's like warning signs. It's like red flags. And that's the story Justin Rounds told about Brenner. So let me know your thoughts about that, Corey. And then supposedly there was another time, and maybe a bit later on, where supposedly Bibbins overheard Brenner threaten to kill Dylan Rounds. Once again, threats, but this time towards Dylan. Not looking good. And then there was times in the past to do with Brenner, locals also overheard Brenner talk about how he was going to dispose of someone, it would be in a wash. All this talk, all these conversations, not leading to literal direct proof of physical action taking place, but all this verbal communication, not exactly normal, is it? And coming from a person that has constantly reoffended, and it involves in like some kind of gun crime, gun charge, fatal wounding, threatening presence, aggravated assault, it doesn't look good on him. So when the case comes on in and Dylan's reported missing and then foul play is taken into mind and it's treated as some kind of homicide investigation at the time, You're going to be looking to Brenner, person of interest, due to proximity, location, time, place, around Dylan, knows Dylan, as well, criminal backstory, back history. You're going to take him into account. And, you can say, yeah, just because they've got a past history, don't mean to say that they are the one responsible this time round, but you can't help but think at the time, right? All I would say is, I just feel that there is more physical evidence which incriminates Brenner compared to any other individual out there. I still feel that there could be another individual out there that played a role in some way or another, but it just feels like, at least up to now, the evidence is pointing in just one direction, and it's kind of problematic, right? Let me know your thoughts, Corey. So, you're saying that charges he had from that, separate, Dylan's timeline, separate from Brenner's past. Badger. Some people are only here to cause problems because they have an issue all of the sudden. Beware of the occasional nutbag. That's very good and fair warning. I guess so, yeah. 21 replies. Oh, what's this all about? Anyway. Apologies if the video is long than expected. Right, so. Corey says, Brenner did not kill Dylan Rounds. And he told the Rounds family that. Brenner did take the grain truck to the shed. Don did not kill Dylan, nor did Kurt. Chase killed Dylan. Very abrupt. Strong statement here, like it's a fact. Wow. Everyone in chat, let me know your thoughts. What do you think about this, personally? The bit where you say, Corey, and Brenner told the Rounds family that he did not kill Dylan. I mean, that's kind of a normal thing you would expect from someone guilty, to jump on in and say, oh, it's not me, and divert the attention elsewhere. That's a normal thing to do. Most people would normally deny it, right, if they are guilty. Brenner did take the grain truck to the shed. Right, so when Bob Farrell earlier was saying how he heard that Kurt Wadsworth said that someone took the grain truck to the grain shed, it wasn't Dylan, it was somebody else, but couldn't put their finger on it. Well, Corey is saying that it was Brenner. So Bob Farrell, maybe you don't know the full story, or you might have forgotten key parts. And that's why, when we look at this information, arguably, you've never seen before, or it's faded away with time. So that's why we bring it back into the light, at least, Bob. Okay, hopefully you understand that. But what are the responses, though? Because this is a very strong statement to make, considering that there is more evidence supporting the idea that Brenner is guilty compared to anybody else. But anyway, I said, may I ask why Brenner have Dylan's blood on him? Right, so I'll be honest. Terrible wording. What am I doing at the time? Absolute pisshead. Warlike pisshead. I'm going to edit this comment right now. I'm disgusted, isn't it? May I ask, why did Brenner have Dylan's blood on him at the time? At the time, on the 28th, 2022, 7:27 a.m. Is that more acceptable? Let's see. May I ask, why did Brenner have Dylan's blood on him at the time on the 28th, 2022 at 7:27 a.m? Boom, there we go. See? If I criticise humans, I criticise myself. There you go. Live action demonstration. Boom. Anyway. Without Limits replies to Corey, I think everyone is willing to hear your theories, but you need to show proof, not just state your opinions as facts. Show us, just don't tell us. Are you referring to the phone calls that Jim made from jail to Karen and Justin Rounds? Jim was trying to tell them that Chase killed Dylan. Justin refers to it during an interview. That was the Heavy D one in terms of Inside of the Grain Shed, the second interview with Heavy D and the family. But Justin didn't believe Jim because they caught him in some lies. When Karen started confronting Jim about some of the lies, he told her to talk to his lawyer and ended the phone call. Well said, No Limits, or Without Limits. You've worded that correctly. I do remember that. That's, understandable. Yeah. And just, if anyone's confused, when Autism Without Limits calls Jim, we're not talking about Jim Terry. We're not talking about Jimmy Chew. We're not talking about Jimmy Butler. We're talking about Jim in James Brenner. James Brenner. James is short for Jim. Okay, just in case you're wondering. And JB does not mean Justin Bieber. It means James Brenner or Jim Brenner. Same person. Okay? Just wanted to let people know. Oh, this one, Without Limits. This is the interview where Justin Rounds talks about it. Yeah, that one. Heavy D's video. Corey says, all my information has come from many sources over a year now. Put it all together, talking to family and others who have first-hand info. You can choose to make your own conclusions and do research, as I did. Good luck. It was not easy. Right, so you can choose to make your own conclusions and do research, as I did. So technically, we're highlighting why it's still open in the field for interpretation. So it's not as tight as some people may think. Corey says, there has absolutely not been... There has absolutely not been an open legal DNA report of that. Only something that came from Candice Cooley. Right, so I think Corey is responding back to my comment about why did Brenner have Dylan's blood upon him. I mean, I don't know if this is worth pointing out, Corey, but yes, Candice Cooley did talk about it, and so did Justin Rounds in one of the East Idaho News Channel interviews, but then it was officially processed and officially stated in the official court documents. Is that still not enough? We did read it out to do with the evidence, to do with the blood, the shirt found, the blood belonging to Dylan, the shirt being found in Brenner's trailer, the 7:27 timestamp time-lapse footage of Dylan's phone recording Brenner with blood on him, which belonged to Dylan, and cleaning a gun, which was all mentioned or summarised, at least, in the court documents, which we've read out in the past. So, Corey, does that not count as, like, open legal DNA report, even though it was mentioned in the official court documents? Let me know, okay? Anyway, Corey says, only something that came from Candice Cooley. There has been 0 reports. I believe there was blood seen on a shirt that could be blood from an animal, for all I know. Right, we're going completely off track now. And if you are aware of a 22 shell case, it is very small. And most times it's very hard to find in an animal, and many times missed. And 22s are used to hunt rabbit and bird, yeah. Very little, if any, blood is seen. And so those things do not add up. What was shown, simple, not possible for a blood source with a 22. I could explain to you why I know, but this is a public forum. Send me a private message if you wish. And just a note, a finger or handprint is not DNA, only fluid and flesh, etc. Right, so Corey, why are we talking about the 22 rifle? Because that's the one that was supposedly taken from that other trailer, which belonged to Ed Harshbarger, supposedly, and Brenner took it because he was owed a payment and took matters into his own hands, and then eventually passed it on to Don Hatley, or eventually ended up handing it in, surrendering it to the FBI and the police because he didn't want to be incriminated or caught with it, surrendered it in, had an interview, and then that's what led to Brenner getting arrested, so in a way, snake in the grass. Well, the thing is, what Ty Corbin has said with time, and I did acknowledge it as well, is that Brenner, besides that 22 rifle, had some other firearms, including one of which was a chrome handgun, a chrome pistol, which is still missing to this day. Could have been the murder weapon, maybe. Just because Brenner stole a 22 rifle doesn't mean to say that that was the one used on Dylan or used at the time for other reasons. If Brenner has other firearms, he could well have used them. And if Brenner has experience in the past with shooting people or attempting shooting people, you know, it doesn't stack up well against him at least, right? Corey says, my reply below to you, Warlike Raf went under the wrong person. It's understandable. I read it and acknowledged. Drew Smith. So Drew is the person that's got an issue with me. What does he say about Corey? Corey, they are going to analyse everything just to keep pumping out the videos for more views and BS. They don't want to take your word for anything. Hell, this dude, Warlike Raf, had no clue who you were at all till you showed yourself here. I've been following this madness for 2 years because I myself am a farmer in NC and my path to success was laid out by my grandparents. Also, I'd love to figure this whole situation out. So everybody watching right now, everybody in the chat, Drew Smith is an individual that has continuously bashed me, complained, Whinged, whined, bitched, and moaned. Joined 1 year ago, 1 subscriber, default profile picture, default channel, 0 contribution to the case as for YouTube talks. Pathetic, you know? Look at that. You literally spend the whole video acknowledging people that are irrelevant. Shaking my head, clickbait. You're going to refer to Corey as irrelevant as well? You're going to double track on yourself, backtrack? Don't do that. So Drew is an impetuous individual, saying that how Warlike Raph didn't even know who Corey was until she showed her presence. Are you an incompetent melon? What is your IQ? How is a person going to know someone if they've never made their presence ever known? How are you going to know someone if they've never been brought into this world and come out of the cave system from down below, man? My goodness. You know, come on, use common sense. If someone lurks in the shadows, lurks in the darkness, how are you going to know that they're present? You're supposed to pull out a spirit box reader out your ass, man, and get the crystals out, shine them up so bright that they're brighter than tireless candles and one's future, and then communicate with them and then bring them out of the dark? Come on, Drew. You need to get a grip. Reality is, Corey made her presence known in most recent time out of nowhere. How am I going to know who Corey is out of nowhere when she's never appeared in the past? Come on, use realistic thinking there at least. But, you know, besides being a farmer and all that physical work you've put hard work into, the mental aspect and the mental capacity seems to be lacking with you. That's unfortunate. But I guess that's just life. What else do we have? Autism Without Limits. The probable cause statement on March 3rd against Brenner for murder did say the victim's DNA was found on the shirt. We don't know the exact details yet due to the upcoming trial, but we know that law enforcement changed Jim Brenner for murder based on evidence that they have. LE didn't charge Brenner for murder because Candice told a lot of stories or repeated her say about Brenner on social media. LE obtained the evidence based on their investigation to charge Brenner for murder. The context for the part of the statement from the PCS is the video showed defendant with bloodstains on his arms and shirt as he's cleaning a gun. The shirt which the defendant is wearing in the video was analysed and the victim's DNA was found on the shirt. The defendant was interviewed and made several claims that corroborated forensic evidence in addition to making numerous demonstrably false statements. The statement also did not confirm exactly how Dylan was murdered. Some people are assuming Dylan was shot based on that sentence referring to Brenner cleaning a gun. There's still a lot of unknowns and we probably will not get the answers until the court trial. Warlike Raph went over the PCS here. Boom, shout out to Autism Without Limits, straight to the point, long sentences, well structured, well said, clear to understand, providing links, backing it up and referencing my past videos. Godlike individual in terms of one's presence there. This is what I mean. This ability to be locked on. This person's demonstrating it quite well. Okay, so let's acknowledge that. Anyway, what else? Corey says, and exactly my point, Brenner had other charges on him from out of state and he was not allowed to be in possession of a firearm, but the video shows him with one. That seems to be why he was arrested, not any charges based on Dylan. Just a note, the LE found the easy out and figured why not to let this settle on Brenner and leave it at that. I do not like the man, nor did I have permission to stay, nor did he. Okay. Corey says, I do not like the man, nor did he have permission to stay on that property. Oh, well, this is a sudden twist and turn, considering that 90% of the community in the Dylan Rounds case strongly believes that Brenner was allowed there and that he wasn't squatting, yet the official reports, the news articles, Candice Cooley, etc. have said that he was squatting, but the general public said he wasn't, and Corey here is saying that he wasn't, given permission there. Nor did he have permission to stay on that property, so he was squatting, though Ed Harshbarger allowed that. Right, so in a way, both people are correct in some way or another, depending on how you interpret it. There we go. We meet the middle ground eventually. Because Don or Kurt asked Ed Harshbarger to let him stay out there, we did not give Ed Harshbarger that okay or freedom to do so. So basically, Ed going against Corey's wishes. There we go. The DNA could well have been a small amount of sweat from Dylan that got on his shirt when Jim drove the grain truck. People so easily let Candice Cooley take the narrative, which was a big mistake. Jim Brenner will be in prison on the out-of-state charges as well as gun charges as well as other charges for a long time. As I said, easy out for the worthless LE in that area. Drew. I'm in agreement with you, totally. Well aware of the thinking of this. But for me, if it gets awareness and activity, it will help Dylan. If they don't want to think clearly and use something more than shallow comprehension, so be it. In the meantime, it gives the investigation team more time and info. Thank you for your understanding and watching my back. A good heart you have. So, it seems like Corey is in alignment with Drew. Now, where does Drew originate from? It wouldn't surprise me if Drew either comes from the Candice Cooley hardliners or maybe the Justin Rounds hardliners more so. But I'm etching more towards that Drew comes from the Jim Terry crowd, the zombie horde. It wouldn't surprise me. Anyway, Corey says, yes, I'm aware. Notice how Anne has come knocking less than 2 days, one after the other. It keeps them jumping, and in the end, it helps us. I'm aware. Notice how and who has come knocking in less than 2 days. One after the other. It keeps them jumping. Right. So what Corey is referring to here in response to Drew is like almost like a little game or like a mind game, psychological warfare. This is getting very interesting. Now, Corey, feel free to explain what you mean by when people have come knocking 2 days after, one after the other. What do you mean, Corey, by it keeps them jumping? So you referring to me keeping on jumping? If that was the case, then obviously it's not working, Corey, because I'm not jumping and I've not lost weight. So obviously that's not been the case there. But are you referring to Bob Farrell? Because Bob Farrell made a response video to me and what I covered based on your comments, Corey. Corey, are you referring to Bob Farrell, Jim Terry, etc.? Just feel free to elaborate there. It'll help explain in general. Tom's saying, how much of the actual facts have we gotten from Box Elder Sheriffs? Very little. So is everything else that has been said simply hearsay? Thank you for reminding us all of the probable cause statement. I think most people omit that in their thoughts. I, for one, am interested most in the demonstrable false statements that Brennan made. What if his statements are found not to be demonstrably false in nature? Those statements may change the course of this case. I agree that being new conversations into this case can and will ignite the thoughts of those trying to come to terms with this case. Corey, I find your info well thought out. It certainly has made me take a step back in some situations and a step forward in others. I think we all appreciate your input. This question is very fair, Warlike Ralph. More questions in this line would be, how did the phone end up in an exact position to capture the photos that it did? How had anyone been stupid enough to keep the blood-soaked shirt in their own home? Well, the thing is, when we look at Brenner, he doesn't seem like he's got it all under control. He seems like the type of person to make some mistakes here and there, at least from my observations, okay? No Limit says, that's the big problem with this case. Box Elder Police Deputy doesn't really talk to the public about the case, or so rumours, so it's easy to develop and spread on social media, so that's why I try to go by the police and the court documents. Do police make mistakes? Yes, but that is what the court trial is for. Like I said, we probably aren't even going to get the answers until the court trial. If Brenner dies, that will just feed the rumours more. Tom saying, Corey, I think by now you must realise that I'm intrigued with everything that you have to say. I'm trying to process as much of it as I can, as fast as I can. One question, you do not live in the Montello area, so how are you so well versed on people like Chase, Robert and others in that community? I'm worried about Brenner passing away before we get the truth. That is, Brenner knows or remembers the truth. I don't want likes of drama queen to dictate the final chapter, but it could happen, couldn't it? Response by No Limits. Tom and Warlike Raff. The PCS said there was blood stain on his shirt on the video recording, but it didn't state the condition of the shirt when LE found it. That's another unknown detail which I know can be very frustrating, leading to even more unanswered questions, such as, did Brenner hand wash the shirt? So is that why he kept it? How did Dylan's DNA survive on it? When did Ellie find his shirt? Why didn't he burn that shirt during the weekend? Only Brenner knows the answer as to why he kept the shirt. These questions about the shirt are questions that I've asked myself. I thought at one time through they found burned barrel. A lot going on there. Shichu, hi Warlike Ref, revisiting my comment for clarity, proper language, I'll rephrase, skilled master of communication presenter, in case I was misunderstood by someone. I don't know the original comment or anything, but thanks Shichu, appreciate it, good individual. Thanks for watching the videos and still being present, that's good of you, I acknowledge that. And yeah, Shichu. Good profile picture as well, looks professional, and that ring around it, the pink outline, makes it stand out better. Corey says, all this took place on the 28th. Chase had a stolen four-wheeler to get around, but no way to get gas unless he stole it. Chase would have had Dylan's phone, and that is why the phone was in Lucen Pond, because he was camping there, hiding from Kurt, planning a way to get away. Kurt told Chase he was going to kill him if he did not leave town. Dylan was grabbed as a shield to give Chase time or protection. Maybe a bargaining chip, maybe? Chase is not stupid, but was addicted to drugs and treated kids badly and girlfriend, who he was using. Kurt gave help to Chase's girlfriend to get away from Chase, and one other person helped her get away from Chase. This also made Chase mad. The date of the 27th are confusing to you. For video, there was a reason. That reason was for cover. Going up to Snowville before, he decided what to do to frame others and clear himself, as said. He was not stupid. I'm understanding this right. The video of Chase at Snowville was on the 27th, or am I misunderstanding? Right, so wait, yeah, I'm thinking what Tom's saying. Were you saying that the CCTV was on the 27th, not the 28th? But then at the start you say all this took place on the 28th. All of it, including the CCTV. Right, but then the timestamps don't align with one another. Again, I will say there was no snap from Brenner at the gate or at the shed. The key was at both gates. Brenner is an alcoholic, and after drinking all night, all the time, he did not get up early. He had no reason to get up nor do a damn thing. First time I've heard about this with the keys at both gates. Interesting. All this info has been given to Justin on everything, not to Candice Cooley, unless Justin has taught to her. Seems to distance himself from Candice Cooley. Some of us have felt for several months Justin's thoughts were different than Candice Cooley's. I personally don't think he would share it with her, except in anger. Right. Thank you for focusing. You're welcome, Cleo. Drew, Ed Harsh Burger, not Harsh Barger. Say it like Burger, not Barger. Shit, fire, bro. If you're going to talk about something, pronounce it correctly. Well, Drew Smith, if you actually stuck around long enough and actually understood how I pronounced it in the past, then you would understand that's how I said it, as Harsh Burger, not Barger. But I've said Barger instead of Burger now because I was criticised for saying it wrong back then. Now I'm criticised for saying it wrong right now. So clearly, Drew, I'm in a lose-lose situation, and also clearly you have failed to watch my past videos of when I did say it correctly in your opinion, okay? So Drew, once again, because you failed to watch my previous videos and you come out with your thoughts and comments now, can we take you seriously? Can we really analyse you correctly? No, because you're just failing to understand the context of the past, even with such simplistic things. It's very disappointing, Drew Smith. You're not doing yourself any favours. Autism Without Limits. It's actually Harsh Barger with 2 A's. I kept getting that confused too. Badger Life, let's get picky. Well, Badger, looks like we've got another rat present. Just one of those things. It is what it is. Tom saying, Corey, your descriptions of Dylan and helping Dylan is somewhat I've been lacking in his case. Justin doesn't say much, and I've learned to put what Candice Cooley says through several different filters. Now I have a better concept of the young man. Indiana, the more you come to know, the less you know. That's a good way of saying it, and I'm going to tie that in a minute, Indiana. Stick around. Robert, where's the reference to particle physics? I'm not quite sure. Different wavelength, 3 dimensions, mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the pettiest of them all? I wonder. And last but not least, what do we have here? Raf, it does seem as though Dylan was comfortable in the company of older men, but remember he had a group of friends. Yes, that's true, Tom. I did actually mention that in the video last night. So, looks like we've reached the end of these comments. Right, so there was a lot to take in there. Of course, maybe it's for the best to rewind back if you feel the need to. Bob Farrell, let me know your thoughts. Has anything changed your mind on what's been talked about in this video, and maybe the comments by Corey, the comments by Drew, or anybody else? Just let me know your thoughts down below, Bob. And as well, everybody else. Have my opinions changed? All I would say, I still feel that there is more evidence that points towards Brenner in some way or another compared to all the other people. Is that because all the other people out there were more clever and cleaned up after themselves? Maybe. Depends how you look at it, right? But if I had to be honest, from what Corey has stated and certain points stated as a fact, okay, it's almost like the complete opposite of Candice Cooley. So you think of Corey and Candice Cooley, major friction between both of them because of differing, strong opinions and statements, right? Bit of a tricky situation, that. But with Corey passing on all this information and knowledge she has gathered with time onto Justin Rounds, passing on to arguably the right individual, I guess, because Justin seems more controlled, you know, he takes things into mind. He hasn't made really as many mistakes or inaccuracies. He's kept quiet, right? And when he's spoken with true meaning. Other people out there have called Candice Cooley out for being a bit erratic and maybe being a bit power hungry at times and speaking out when she shouldn't, etc. That's coming from other people, okay? So I guess Corey took that into consideration as well and then passed it on to Justin, the right person, the right guy for hearing that. Now, my question is though, yeah, Justin Rounds may have listened and took it in, but did he internalize? You can show compliance, you can listen, you can show respect that way and be polite, but are you internalizing it? At least from what I've seen for some time, okay, when it comes to Justin Rounds and Candice Cooley, arguably more so in recent time, at least from the last few interviews we've seen, they were in agreement with one another that Brenner is putting it on, that Brenner is playing the act to make it seem like he's so vulnerable and that everyone will feel sorry for him, like what we saw with the last court hearing. Yes, we did see that text message of Justin Rounds calling out Candice Cooley in the past, but that was back then. Does that tie in line? Was that an example of what Corey was referring to and other people's interpretations, that Justin Rounds was told stuff by Corey, which then led to some form of separation, one known more than the other between Candice Cooley and Justin Rounds known more, distancing himself from Candice Cooley because of certain information he heard of, and Candice Cooley was very strong on other ideas, so there was no point telling her, and that because how she's been with Ellie, it would be detrimental to the case. Is that why Justin Rounds kind of called out Candice Cooley and revealed those text messages public in the past? Makes you think. But that's back then. As of recent time, as said, Justin Rounds agreeing with Candice Cooley and vice versa, and both talking for themselves. Some people could interpret it as they're more in line in wavelengths more now than back then. Possibly, right? As said, with Justin Rounds calling out Brenner with that last court hearing, saying it was silly, it was pathetic, the act he was putting on, it was all fake. Come on, you need to stop that. Justin calling out Brenner. Not once have I seen Justin defend Brenner. Not once. Nor on the public interviews. Right? I've just seen... The only thing can acknowledge that Justin has called out Don Hartley on a few occasions, and that's it. I've not seen Justin call out Robert Aviles or Kurt Wadsworth or, you know, Chase Venstra, right? And as we saw, and like what No Limit said with that link posted, you look back to the Heavy D interview with Justin Rounds, Candice Cooley, okay? Justin was passing on saying that, yes, Brenner did call him and pass the blame and shift the focus to Chase Venstra, but Justin didn't believe it at the time. Now you can ask yourself, now, does Justin believe it? Well, he's not really called out Chase Venstra since or made any reference or comments ever since, so maybe not. So that's what I mean. Corey, it depends when you told Justin at the time. Did you tell him a month ago, a year ago? When exactly? Because at any point, it seems like Justin may have listened but didn't internalize, at least from what I've seen by Justin's reactions, unless he puts on a display and fakes it when around Candice Cooley during those interviews where they're together, because he can't disagree because he's next to Candice Cooley and then it would look wrong and then it would look awkward. Maybe he's just going along with it if he was to think along that lines. But what I do want to say is, okay, I feel all this information coming out, although shocking to some people, although never heard of before by others, at least to me, I can acknowledge and observe that what's being talked about can flip the case upside down completely. That all that progress that has been made from back then till now has been a complete waste of time if you only listen and look to what's being talked about now, right? That's why balance is necessary. And there'll be many people out there that will just not understand that. No matter what I do, it's a lost cause. I feel that it's like doing a complete 180 in direction as for people responsible. But for so long, majority of people online in interviews, the family, friends of friends, on Facebook, on maybe Reddit, on Crime Stoppers, on YouTube, all platforms, and even on TikTok, the majority for quite some time have been focused on Brenner. And quite a few would have been thinking and feeling still to this day that there are other people involved, but people still were taking Brenner into mind because there was more material associated with Brenner in some way or another, right? I guess it depends at the end of the day, how extreme do you want to go? If we was to go extreme and all in to penetrate into here, you could argue and say that if Brenner is 100% innocent, as some people out there claim, then this whole case has been a complete waste of time. No progress has been made at all. It's been a complete waste of time. Anything else? That everything that's been mentioned in the official court documents is wrong, the police have done it wrong, the courts have done it wrong, the family's wrong, and even when Justin has been told the alternative truth seeker information, that he's gone against it and still gone with Candice Cooley's thoughts, that Justin is wrong and it's all corrupt and it's all a complete mess. Basically, end of the day, you have got two sharp conflicting points of views, two sharp conflicting statements of truth. How are you supposed to, incorporate both? You got to split it down the middle. You got to choke yourself with those two different areas and aspects. You could argue it's a complete disaster, but that will not happen here. It's still under control despite this intensity, okay? All I would say in general, and I hope people are listening right here, right now, and it applies in general, when humans appear or make their presence known here, on other YouTube channels, in interviews, Doug's interviews, East Idaho News Channel interviews, the family, on Twitter, on Facebook, wherever, whenever, whoever. When humans make their presence known and they make considerable mistakes in their verbal communication or text-based tone, credibility is lost. Cautiousness is advised, right? When humans contradict themselves, it becomes somewhat worrying as to how they conduct themselves after that point, okay? That is why you need to be cautious, okay? Certain factors like that. You can talk about misinformation, disinformation, BS, rumours, events, Chinese whispers, but the people you need to be focused and looking out for are the ones that conduct themselves as if they truly know, but they contradict themselves at the same time. That's very worrying, okay? And you look at Candice Cooley, for example, okay? You'd think she'd know a fair bit because the position she's in, a family member, of course, and being in contact with the police, Ellie, FBI, etc. Yet she's made mistakes at times, but it's understandable because of what she's going through. You got to acknowledge that, just like with Justin. The only reason why Justin hasn't made really any mistakes is because he just simply doesn't talk, right? But you need to acknowledge that information you may have heard of yourself as a viewer and quoted and referenced to. The only reason why you're able to do that in the first place is because you've been given the opportunity by Candice Cooley, who's spoken out public. Whether it's true or not what she says, whether it's right or wrong, accurate or inaccurate, the only reason why you're able to quote this and quote that and know of this or supposedly know of that, whether it's right or wrong, is because she spoke in the first place, right? If Candice Cooley was like Justin Rounds and kept virtually quiet, then most people wouldn't really know what's going on, or things would be delayed much longer. So there is a give and take, positives, pros and cons, okay? There might be more cons with people, but it depends how conning they are. Sorry, what was that? Oh, I forgot. Slipping a word there. But hopefully you understand in general, right? If that makes sense. You know, okay, Justin Rounds conducts himself maybe more appropriately, controls himself better, but do you hear as much information from him? Not really. What about when Justin calls out Don Hatley public? Certain threatening language used. Why is it when Justin Rounds acts out at times, it's seen as acceptable and perfectly normal, but when Candice Cooley acts out at times, oh, witch hunt, witch hunt. If you're going to go after one person, you go after the other. If you're going to demonstrate balance, you look at everyone. You don't just focus on one singular area, right? Because I've demonstrated myself. Candice Cooley has played up at times and has been a bit inaccurate, not helpful. She switched and changed at times, but like King Samoan said, but at the same time, we've also need to acknowledge that at one point, at least in the early days when the LE did mess up with the key fob, publicly revealing it on the NAM-US public data report of Dylan Rounds when it wasn't supposed to. It was supposed to be done on the private police report, but they got it mixed up. That Candice Cooley was supposedly advised by the LE to go against the truth, to try and seal it up, to cover for the mistakes by the LE and to save the case. If you're in a situation like that, you've got to compromise your own credibility just to save the case because of someone else's incompetence. What else can you do, right? But there have been times later on where Candice Cooley did make false statements. That's not good, right? But it can happen. Just like how viewers and other sources can come on in with their statements and facts and still make contradictions at the same time in the same sentence or paragraph, right? It's like a minefield of mind games, a minefield of mess. And things can go wrong at times. But whilst I've criticised, well, not so much criticised, observed observations with Candice Cooley, positive and negative, I've done the same with Justin Rounds. I said how, yeah, you got Justin, he controls himself better in certain areas, he doesn't spread as much misinformation or doesn't really make many inaccuracies there, but when he does speak out public on Facebook, it's not probably the best appropriate thing to do, to be calling out Don Hatley in a threatening way at times, threatening language. Other people jump on in and say, oh, well, it's because he's emotional and going through a lot. It makes sense. It's understandable. Oh, but Candice Cooley, no, she can't do this. She can't do that. She can't make mistakes. That's one-sided. That's not balance. That's where people go wrong. With me, it's Candice Cooley, yeah, that's a positive, but that's a negative. Let's be honest. Justin Rounds, positive. That's understandable, but not the most appropriate usage of the language could harm the case. Let's be real. The true definition of balance is where you stick around long enough in the middle that you become the villain, the black sheep. That's it. Okay? So I do feel that listening to some information, it could flip the case completely upside down. At least for me, I'm still grounded with at least what I know of from the past and what I've heard of recently by Corey. I'm incorporating both, but not mixing it up too much to get totally confused. I feel that there are many people out there that could get confused. Before that happens, just try and keep it under control, listen to what's being talked about, but don't fully internalize it just yet. Because on some areas, some sides, there's a lot of talk, but not enough physical evidence. In other areas, there's a lot of talk but evidence mentioned, which could be criticised as not enough, but it's better than nothing. I know extensively about it because when it came to the Kenny Veach case, I proved it with evidence. Missed phone call of Kenny Veach on his Facebook account, CCTV footage. Was it good enough for people? No, it wasn't enough. That was inaccurate. It doesn't mean to say it's exactly that. It doesn't mean to say exactly that person. It could be twisted. It could be turned. It's not enough to satisfy them. What they want is a knock on the door by that missing person to sit on down, have a tea party with some teddy bears and express their life stories of how it all went wrong. That's only when they'll be convinced. Physical face-to-face meeting with that missing person. There's some times where you can present evidence and information as much as you want till the cows come home, but they're not going to be milked anytime soon because it's all dried up and people just won't listen. So I get that. With the Dylan Rounds case, there is evidence definitely to suggest Brenner is involved in some way or another, but to some people, it's just not enough true evidence or proof. But it's better than nothing, right? Because whilst people can criticise the lack of evidence or the validity of it, it's something. It's something. What about all the other people out there who are guilty, supposedly speaking? Where's the evidence there? The physical hard evidence, the documents, the transcripts, leaked audio recordings, photos, videos. Where is it? Don't see it. And whilst you can say, as a valid point, yeah, but when you flip it round to that 727 video recording of Brenner, so what? Have we actually seen the video? Does it actually exist? What about the blood on Brenner's shirt? Was it actually blood? How do we know? We've not actually seen the video. Are we going to see the video? Or are we going to turn into an autopsy report? Let's go on Patreon and post it there. Oh, Zavgirl situation. No. Okay, let's get a grip. Will we ever see the video footage? Maybe down the line. Maybe at the end of the day, what people need to be in a position of is being able to see that 727 timestamp video footage of Brenner in that trailer on that day. And then maybe it'll change people's opinion. But at this moment in time, because we've not actually seen it, who's to know whether it exists or not. But if you go deep enough, you could go into 9/11 conspiracies. Was there more than one plane? Was it all pre-planned? Was the BBC involved in it when they did the interview 15 minutes before the first plane crashed and said that it crashed into the building when it didn't at the time? Was anyone else involved? Mossad? CIA? I don't know, Pentagon? Just what I mean, we can go down all kinds of conspiracies, but then we start turning into salty pancakes, and that's not going to happen here, okay? I've got the water. That's going to wash away the salt. Do I have a dry mouth? Arguably speaking. Betty Hayward, where's the peaches? That will help. Right, so hopefully no one is confused and you've kind of understood this video. Be sure to share your additional thoughts, comments down below, and if you do have grievances, list them too. Once again, Ty Corbin, what Ty Corbin has done in the case in the early days, physically searching, boots on ground, needs to be acknowledged, has been helpful at times in the past in answering questions. That's good of Ty Corbin. Some of the more dedicated videos in terms of the area and giving directions has been helpful as well by Ty Corbin. He's done good, but his attitude with time has gone rotten and soured. He's not doing himself any favours with that attitude and tone. It is disappointing, but that's just the way reality has gone. Maybe it changes with time down the line. We will see, just like everything else within this case. Hopefully you enjoyed the video in some way or another. Share your thoughts down below. And if you are satisfied, feel free to like this video and share it elsewhere. Okay? I'll see you next time. But for now, goodbye and good night.